water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. And everything changed when Avatar: The Last Airbender premiered on Nickelodeon. 15 years after its release, the classic animated series retains a remarkable 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes and is streaming on Netflix. It's the perfect time to rewatch the show or introduce it to someone new. Join us as we dive into the history, themes, and impact of what is without question one of the greatest Western animated TV series of all time. From the sketchbook to the screen, animation inspiration dives into the origin and legacy of beloved cartoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
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 In the early to mid-2000s, Nickelodeon was approaching the end of its classic Nicktoons era. Shows like Rugrats, Hey Arnold, The Wild Thornberrys, and Rocket Power were wrapping production, leaving a programming void. Meanwhile, Cartoon Network had a lineup that included shows such as Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, Codename Kids Next Door, and the Powerpuff Girls. Notably, shows full of action. And what major franchise was shattering records in the movie world? Nickelodeon knew what it needed. Something big, full of excitement, with a dash of lore. Luckily, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko had been developing something that would fill that void perfectly. Something that would become the biggest production Nickelodeon had ever seen. A story about a young boy with incredible power and even more incredible friends. Avatar: The Last Airbender. When asked if they had any concepts for a show, DiMartino and Konietzko promised they would have something to pitch ASAP. After 2 intense weeks of concept art, story outlines, and no sleep, they had the pitch. The idea sparked when Konietzko drew a child monk herding sky bison manatees through the clouds. He also drew the monk with 2 other animal companions and added an arrow to his head. DiMartino, who had been watching documentaries about being stranded at the South Pole, suggested sealing the boy in ice. The two ran from there, and soon the world of Avatar was born. After an immense bombardment of a pitch, they easily received the green light for a pilot.
Stop talking, kind of like, I'm already in, this is fantastic. We just spoke from our heart. We need to sort of slow down, we need to make a deal, put this into development, and then produce a pilot.
The show was Nickelodeon's first production with very distinct anime influences, and the collaborating South Korean studios DR Movie, JM Animation, and MOI Animation brought a well of talent that also worked on properties like Teen Titans, Justice League, Young Justice, and the first 2 Pokemon movies. Specific influences included Princess Mononoke, Cowboy Bebop, Fooly Cooly, and Samurai Champloo. The world of Avatar is one of the most realistic and fully fleshed out fictional worlds because of the level of detail in every aspect. The 4 nations are all based on existing cultures of Asia, the bending styles are all based on distinct martial art styles, and every animal, with a few exceptions, are literally fusions of 2 existing animals.
The king is having a party at the palace tonight for his pet bear.
You mean platypus bear?
Skunk bear.
Or his armadillo bear?
Just bear.
Almost every name translates to a relevant trait to its subject, and fans have spent years discovering all the delightful Easter eggs. Before the story was fleshed out for pitching, Avatar was actually going to be set in the future, with Aang wielding tech from an advanced civilization. But changing it to a fantasy and placing the story in a mostly pre-industrial age has actually helped make the entire piece timeless. The pilot was produced for test audiences and was met with tremendous enthusiasm. After a few tweaks, such as Katara's name,
Kaya? Listen, Kaya.
Kaya, get ready.
Kaya.
Some design changes, and the hiring of head writer Aaron Ehasz, the show launched into full production and was ready to share with the world. In addition to its visual brilliance, the show found excellent support in its voice cast and score. Avatar stars Zach Tyler Eisen as Aang,
I'm over here! Follow my voice!
Mae Whitman as Katara,
Stealing is wrong, unless it's from pirates.
Jack DeSena as Sokka,
I'm the oldest, and I'm a warrior, so I'm the leader.
Dante Bosco as Zuko,
Search the woods for the boy and meet me back here.
Jesse Flower as Toph,
I am Melon Lord!
Jason Isaacs as Zhao,
Their city will fall today.
and Mako as Iroh.
You should take your teacher's advice and relax a little.
As the show went on, more exceptional cast members lended their talents, notably Great Lyle as Azula,
You will never rise from the ashes of your shame and humiliation.
and Mark Hamill as Ozai.
And I am the supreme ruler of everything.
Even Ron Perlman,
Your loyalty is to our nation first.
Daniel Day Kim,
I'll help you figure out how to get into the Avatar state.
and George Takei made cameos.
I'll decide what the point is, fool.
Unfortunately, Mako would pass away before the recording of Season 3. The role was then passed on to American actor Greg Baldwin. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony, each corresponding to one of four basic elements in nature: water, earth, fire, and air. Each nation contained a percentage of the population who could control and manipulate their native element in a process called bending. In the world, there is one individual who can bend all four of these elements, known as the Avatar. The Avatar is meant to keep the peace between the nations and is part of a cycle of reincarnation. When the existing Avatar dies, they are reincarnated into a new person, born in a new nation. This is the foundation of the entire Avatar universe. The Fire Nation upsets the balance by strategically attacking the air nomads during the passing of Sozin's comet. Before that happens, knowing his responsibilities as Avatar, Aang runs from home, unable to accept his role, and during a terrible storm, gets trapped in ice for 100 years. This is where the actual series begins, with siblings Katara and Sokka discovering Aang and releasing him from his enclosure. Aang soon realizes the Fire Nation has indeed attacked and murdered his people, leaving him to be the only air nomad left, the Last Airbender. Meanwhile, the current Fire Lord, with world-ruling ambitions of his own, is meticulously waging war against the two remaining nations of Earth and Water. His son, Zuko, was banished from the Fire Nation after disrespecting him, and now Zuko seeks to capture the Avatar to reclaim his honor and place as heir. Aang learns from his previous self, Roku, that a comet will pass overhead in less than a year, and with its passing, the Fire Lord will be able to enhance the power of firebenders and end the war in his favor. Aang must master all four elements before that time and defeat the Fire Lord, preventing his totalitarian regime. Katara and Sokka accompany Aang on his quest to master the elements by first traveling north, where more adept waterbenders reside, and then to the east, in hopes of locating an earthbending teacher. After a clash with major Fire Nation troops at the North Pole, Aang, as well as Katara, master waterbending. Next, in their quest for Aang to master earthbending, they meet the blind yet intrinsically gifted earthbender, Toph. She joins the team, helps Aang master earthbending, and after once again clashing with the Fire Nation at the Earth Kingdom capital, they travel west to find a fire teacher. In the third and final season, Zuko, as well as his uncle, reject their Fire Nation allegiance, and Zuko accepts that in order to stop his father, he must teach the Avatar firebending. Along the way, his more skilled and ruthless sister Azula becomes a menacing antagonistic force, and ultimately Zuko must stop her as well. In one of the most compelling changes of character, Zuko goes from hunting Aang to befriending him, becoming another member of Team Avatar. The character arcs are not forced, and every step of the way they are challenged by one another to reconcile with their past actions and grow together. Zuko goes from banished prince to redeemed hero. Toph goes from sheltered child to an independent and first master of metal bending. Sokka goes from klutzy and misogynistic to respectable and a competent fighter and strategist. Katara goes from naive and unskilled to fierce, reliable, and forgiving. And finally, Aang goes from fearful and childish to wise and powerful. Discussing Team Avatar cannot be complete without the inclusion of Aang's best friend slash pet Appa, the team's adopted pet lemur Momo, and Suki, the dependable and loyal former leader of the Kyoshi warriors, who had a key role in teaching Sokka to be a better person. While Team Avatar is no doubt the focal point of the series, every character included has his or her own personality and story. From Fire Nation friends Mai and Ty Lee, to Aang's still-kicking earth-bending buddy Boomy, and even a recurring cabbage merchant.
Oh, my cabbages! My cabbages! My cabbages! My Oh, forget it!
There is no lack of richness and humanity packed into the cast. In addition, the show feels real because the stakes are real. Death is a predominant presence in the story and truly sets Avatar apart from existing shows, especially for children. In an interview with Fatherly, co-creator Brian Konietzko stated, "In a lot of entertainment for adults, death is depicted so frequently and casually that it loses any weight. On the contrary, in much of kids' entertainment, it is often swept under the rug as if it doesn't exist." Right off the bat, Mike and I felt strongly that in order for our series to be truly epic, there had to be high stakes, namely, death. But it was never in an effort to make some edgy, irreverent show. We tried to approach those subjects with care, and sought to find balance in tones that would make the Avatar world deeper and richer, and serve the story as best we could. The series takes many twists and turns, with episodes full of action, but also many episodes about caring, kindness, compassion, and conflict resolution. The show manages to reach incredible heights, but also subvert expectations that make sense within its own universe. It feels complete and deliberate, something often lacking from shows with a standalone episode structure. Once you start watching, you can't help but want to know how it ends. Avatar: The Last Airbender ran from February 2005 to July 2008, a solid 61 episodes over 3 seasons. Over those seasons, it won a Genesis Award, a Primetime Emmy, Kids' Choice Award, Peabody Award, and 5 Annie Awards.
The series was always about Aang, a young hero who has the overwhelming task of restoring balance to a war-torn world, while at the same time he struggles with finding internal balance as he searches to understand who he is and his purpose in the world. No matter what age you are or what culture you're from, this is a struggle we can all relate to, so thank you very much.
Despite the closure received from the series finale, there were still some plot threads that could be explored more. Hence, an Avatar comic series and graphic novels that continue the adventures, notably resolving the unknown fate of Prince Zuko's mother, were launched. DiMartino and Konietzko oversaw this series, ensuring it still felt connected to the existing Avatar universe. Things didn't stop there, however. Avatar was a smash success with all manner of books, video games, toys, and even a movie directed by M. Night.
A, we didn't want it to be done at all. And then B, if it was going to be done, we wanted to do it, but they weren't going to let us. C, when they attached Night, we just thought, we'll offer help when it's asked of us. And if it's not, we'll stay out of the way. And in the beginning, it was more positive, and we offered help. But then we gave input that went nowhere.
Fans did get a major update to the Avatar world with a direct sequel series, The Legend of Korra, where after Aang's passing, the new Avatar, Korra, continues the legacy of maintaining balance in the world. The Korra series wasn't as beloved as its predecessor, but that is often the case when the property reached such an epic conclusion. Korra's history and legacy could fill a video by itself, so perhaps another time. More recently, Netflix announced that a live-action series is in development, with Brian and Mike returning once again as showrunners. However, after 2 years of development, they left the project due to creative differences with Netflix. In an open letter, Mike stated, "Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show many of you end up enjoying. But what I can be certain about is that whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I had envisioned or intended to make. Avatar's influence can be felt all these years later. One example is the sheer number of episodic animated shows for kids. While not many shows go on to have a clearly defined adventure as Avatar did, there are more shows pushing narrative structure beyond the bottle episode formula that lasted so much of the previous 3 decades. Shows like Gravity Falls, The Dragon Prince, Steven Universe, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Adventure Time, and Amphibia, to name a few, have occasional plot-heavy, lore-based episodes that reward investment. Avatar is in fact an investment, but the returns have proven again and again by fans and critics alike to be worth it. Avatar: The Last Airbender could very well be the last of its kind. It was a show so fully realized and well executed that it appeals to almost everyone. With its resurgence on Netflix being so lovingly embraced, it proves that existing fans, as well as new ones, wish to travel and grow with Team Avatar. In a time where the world often seems on fire, perhaps the wisdom of the Avatar is needed more than ever. But instead of relying on a savior, we can act ourselves to bring balance to the world. We may not have flying bison or be able to summon great water cyclones, but we still have the strength to change, show mercy, and find the time to smile. In the words of Zuko's Uncle Iroh,
sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights.
So go and share some Avatar: The Last Airbender with someone new. Tea is not a requirement, but it certainly helps.